Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Shane, Kristin, and I are back for episode 8 of Deal or No Deal Island Season 2. And really interesting episode, interesting challenge, and also some really interesting dynamics that came up. What did you both think of this episode?
For me, this was like really special, and we'll get to it, but there's like one moment that I don't know how to describe it, but like no one's gonna feel that way unless you're in the situation. So we'll get there, but I think you all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. When we get there, I'm gonna try not to cry. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I will say I have a lot of other thoughts on the rest of this episode, which we can get into. But fair warning to all the people who are about to listen, there might be some F-bombs. There might be some things coming out. I'm a little heated, but let's jump into it.
Yay. I mean, should we kind of kick this off because with something from last week where we had the Phillip and Parvati interaction where their relationship started to splinter apart, and you have the fallout from that in this episode where Phillip is
right away, aren't you? You're gonna start right away.
So Phillip is going to confront Parvati and claim that she was using this to manipulate him with the bullying tactic and everything with that. As someone who has been a victim of bullying growing up, like this hit me, and I never took what Parvati was saying to Phillip as like manipulation as he took it. I personally was a little bit weirded out by Phillip's perception of that as someone who's dealt with that in their life before. So,
yeah, for me, this is like such
a
complicated scenario because I have complicated feelings about it because it can get personal too because I can get it and like I get situations where you can feel like you're being bullied or whatever, and then you get the people, and I've had this happen where it's like you look for help and they don't think it's anything wrong, or they're like, oh, you're overreacting or whatever. So like for me, that hits home where I can understand like Phillip's emotions. The other side of me is also like he's a little over emotional in this situation. I hate that I'm saying that, but I truly think it. Because like they're in a game, and with the game, there's so many emotions and pressure. And like, if you were outside of the game and this happened, maybe Parvati doesn't say it, maybe Phillip doesn't react the same way. But now we have all the emotions and everything coming into play. And like, I truly, just from seeing it, it's an edited show. I'm very aware of that. But from what we saw, I don't think Parvati meant it manipulatively.
No,
I think she was saying it because, and she wasn't like weaponizing it. She's like, look, you told me this, and like, I feel this way, so I'm giving it back to you. But I can also understand why Phillip reacted the way he reacted, but I don't necessarily agree with how he reacted, if that makes any sense.
Kristin?
You're about to unleash the beast, because listen, this whole episode, I didn't watch it with you guys, and probably for the better, because I was feeling a lot of emotions. Here's what I have to say about this. You all know how I feel about Parvati. Like, you all know I do not will not stand behind Parvati in any shape, way, or form.
Mhm.
Here's what I'm going to say about this. Parvati manipulates everything. She is a master manipulator. She 100% was manipulating him in that situation, but not the way that he's claiming it. She was not using his past trauma to manipulate him into getting her way. She was using her manipulation tactics to get him to go after Will, not like her like those. I want people to be clear. There are two separate things here. She's manipulating Will and how people might feel about Will because of how he's been acting on the island.
Mhm.
But it just so happens that she's bringing it up like, you don't want to talk to these people. Like, we talked about this literally a day ago. Like, this is not who we want to surround ourselves with. Now, here's the other problem with this situation that I'm just beyond peeved about, is I give Phillip some credit here, and then I'm going to take it all away. Phillip did an amazing job of course, Parvati is a very intimidating person, right? She's been on 5 million shows. She's the Black Widow, like, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares anymore except for her true fans. And if you're a true fan of Parvati, come for me. I don't care. But here's what we're not going to do. You have your moment, and it was a beautiful moment. Take her down. Parvati, can I talk to you? It was very calm. It was very serene. Like, we're adults. Let's talk this out. Here's what you did to me, and this is how I took it. And you could tell in Parvati's moment that, like, she was like, oh, I really did not actually mean it that way. I mean, I was manipulating you in other ways, but, like, I wasn't meaning to use that. Like, you could see that was a genuine, from what we can imagine, a genuine reaction from Parvati. And then to slam the door, you're not, listen, I'm all about educating people on people's triggers and things like that. And I think it should be a talked about situation more so. It needs to be out there in the open. People should feel comfortable coming to somebody and being like, you upset me in this reason or in this scenario, and this is why. And have this adult conversation and talk it out as adults and then move forward, either together or separate, but like talk it out. For him to literally bring it, to get a reaction out of her, and then to be like, no, we're done talking, go, I'm leaving, and like walk away, grow the fuck up. Grow all the way up. I'm over this little tantrum that you're throwing right now for everybody to get to like, oh, poor Phillip. No, shut up and go sit down, please. This is a joke. This is an absolute joke. Now you're manipulating everybody else around you to make you feel bad for yourself that you were, no, you're doing the exact same thing. And Parvati did say that. And she's doing the same thing. She said he's doing this right before a challenge, but it's not so, like, again, he could have had the moment to have a big boy conversation and hash it out, whether it was together or separate, and move on, whether they were going to be friends or not. But he chose to not only bring it up, but then when she wants to continue that conversation, to abruptly shut it down and just be like, well, F you, I'm done. Then don't bring it up. Then don't even have a conversation.
Yeah.
All right, I'm
No,
rant complete.
I get that.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I'm.
Oh my god, the comments. I hope this one doesn't get out there because, oh my god, people are gonna cover me hard.
Oh boy. Yeah. We're gonna just clip this just for all the viewers.
This is gonna be the short so that they can all cover me. Okay, good. Okay, cool. Rant one complete. Let's move on.
All right. Well, let's move on to our challenge, and this is the one where they have to leave certain people behind with certain suitcases, and then go through another path, and then leave a couple more people behind. That's basically the gist of it. So let's talk this through. What did you guys think as we progressed through the challenge?
As
Rant 2 incoming. Just I'm throwing it out there. Rant 2 incoming.
Well, I have like a half rant because I don't think it's going to get anywhere to your level. But as a concept, I think this was such a good concept for a challenge. Like, there's decision making involved, there's strategy involved, there's social involved. With that being said, I think some very poor decisions were made in this challenge. Let's start off with the first decision was to get 2 people to stay behind and have the locate. Letty and Dickson. Okay, that makes sense. And I think Dickson did a really good job here socially because everyone voted for Letty and like he couldn't do anything anyway, but he stood up for her.
Yep.
So that gets him closer to Letty. And then he's like, I'm weaker, like I'll take the fall. So he gets to do that, and now he has some alone time with Letty.
So I want to stop you on this because this isn't part of my rant, but I do want to touch on this because I've heard other podcasts out there. Maybe I shouldn't cough them out. I was going to cough and make the moment, but I won't. I've heard some other podcasts saying that this was a stupid move and that Dickson's doing literally nothing. You know who you are, podcast, if you ever do listen to this one. But basically said he'd be a 0-vote finalist. He's a Philip Shepard of Redemption Island, all kinds of things. Again, if you know, you know. The amount of not only social game that he did in this moment, strategically, because you just pointed out, not only you do see this in that when they're sitting there like on the swing and like whatever they're doing, he knows that there might be an in here. And so he's like, okay, like, let me show her that I have her back, but also I'm going to take the fall so I can continue to build this bond while the rest of you are running around an island. And we already know that Dickson's not doing heights and stuff, so he's like, win-win for me. Strategic. Smart.
Exactly. Like the bond with Letty, or should I say Lette, to give a shout out.
If you know, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, we're throwing shade at another podcast. It's fine.
That comment about the 0-vote finalist thing, again, I can understand where it's coming from, but my problem with it is that this is a fundamentally different game. We're going in, they know there's no jury and everything. So you're comparing it in your head to another game, but they're not playing that other game.
Right.
I can see why you're comparing it that way, but like if he was playing a game with a jury, him and everyone else is probably going to make different decisions than what they're actually making.
Right.
Can you criticize some stuff? Of course. Like he's at the final 6 with at least 3 people that are way physically stronger than him. And presumably it's a final 4 challenge.
Right.
That's a tough uphill battle.
100%.
But I always say, and even in Survivor, you can play the best game you want. Like Rick Devens, for instance, and goes out in 4th place. Rick Devens had 0% chance of winning because he wasn't in the end. Even though, like, for sure, if he was there, he would have won.
Right.
So if Dickson makes a move against his alliance, let's say, and then he gets taken out before the end, he has 0% chance of winning. If he goes with his alliance to the end, and like, yes, you have giants with you, you have a chance of winning. It's low, but you have a chance of winning. And remember, there's also some luck involved if it's similar to last season. Yeah. So saying that you're playing a 0-vote finalist game is a bit irrelevant to this.
100%.
Yeah. Well, and he's made moves that if you're comparing him to like a Philip Shepard, I'm pretty sure Philip didn't really actually make moves in Redemption Island that weren't with Boston Rob. Like Dickson actually did make a move to take out Storm. And again, that's another physical threat. If you're going to say he's sitting there with 3 physical threats, well, he got rid of a physical threat like early enough to where he didn't have to deal with
one that's not going to benefit him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
and obviously, like, I'll make the point, we're biased for sure, but what we're trying to do is back up our biases with facts from what we've seen in the episode too.
100%. I mean, yeah, of course, there is going to be a little bit of a bias there because we actually know him on the outside. And I get that where other people may be like, well, that's not really a fair podcast. You're not reporting it fair. It is what it is. But you have to look at the facts, not just if you're a Parv fan or if you're a David fan or if you're a Letty fan or whoever you're rooting for. That's a different type of bias. We've called Dickson out on things that he's not done well. Like we've called as his friend, we're like, not what I would have done, Dickson, but okay, you do you, boo. You know, those types of things. So while we might still have that bias and that friendship for him, we still are not afraid to call out the things that he's not done great at. So like for the ones that want to have the bias, the actual bias because they're a Parvati fan or they're a whatever fan, just strictly because they're their fan, that's a different bias.
Right.
So thanks. Back to the challenge.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree with what Shane said of like with Dickson's decision to stay behind and defend Letty and like cultivate that relationship. I think that was really, really good on his part. So
yeah. I mean, going even into this next part though, like, but to kind of what's gonna teeter in here is them taking the shot at Letty. I've seen a lot of comments out here of like this, like that was so like chauvinistic to say that they need manpower and things like that. Also, again, we're playing a game. You're trying to eliminate people that are your threat. We know that CK, that's a huge threat because she's like, I'm coming for you after the last round. We know that CK's coming at, like, doesn't like Parvati and the family and all those things. So that's smart on Parvati. We know David's going to stick and protect the family. So of course. And then Lachelle's Lachelle is a Philip Shepard at this moment. Like she's just riding to ride. So, and don't get me wrong, she's done some great.
I would say more Natalie Tenorelli because Lachelle socially is.
Well, I'm just saying, like she has the social right. So Lachelle's not as bad, but what I'm saying is like, of course she's just gonna go. Like there's already 3 votes there. She's gonna be like, yeah, that's fine. Like Letty, whatever. Like it doesn't affect me regardless, you know. So I just, for the people that are calling that out, I think that if you're sitting there on Dondi and you need to like make some money and you're trying to get to an excursion, you're taking out your threats. It's at the end of the day, done and done. But then we get to the next part, which this is where I'm like, you guys just got rid of them. So like this iguana thing, I'm sorry. I'm not doing iguanas. I'm not. I'm with Philip, but I think Philip took it over the top. I think now listen, I have irrational fears of things too. I will probably be in there crying and taking 10 minutes to get through this little iguana thing. I may not even get in it. I don't know because I'm not there. I don't do the creepy curlies. I don't do the snakes. I don't do these like I can't even handle a little tiny gecko outside my house. So like listen, Philip, I get you. So if the shaking was real, kudos to you because I understand. But if it was not, this is again like an attention seeking thing. So which one it is, I don't know. But
Yes, is
I'm
it
not
was
going
real
in there.
because I bet I don't know anything about applying to these shows, but I bet they're asking you questions like, "What's your biggest fear?" And honestly, I would not answer that truthfully because I would assume they're gonna like put that
I'd be
into.
like bubble gum.
Because we know, like, I have a very irrational, I don't know if it's a fear, but like, I would shake and vomit with certain things. It's a food that it's an irrational fear.
It is a very
So I
irrational.
can get it. I can definitely understand where he's coming from.
You know, it's so funny you bring this up because it reminds me, and this is gonna date me, so it's really gonna date me, but that's okay. If there was a talk show many years ago, Maury Povich, and mostly he did the "you are not the father" kind of things. But there was one episode where he brought out people with irrational fears, and this one lady was terrified of olives, and they brought out a
Yes,
olive.
I know what you're talking about because I've seen it online. It's
So yeah, Shane,
hilarious.
you are the olive lady.
Not with olives, though, but yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, so they get through. I don't really understand, like, because then right after that, this is where we lose Philip and CK,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
So, like, I don't know. If I was Philip, I'd be pissed that I just went through iguanas and just to get taken out. Like, I would legit be mad. I'd be like, you couldn't do this before I walked through that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how I would have felt about the iguana pit. Like I don't like things like crawling on me or whatever, but like
Now, granted, iguanas are like it's the same thing with the geckos and things outside. People tell me all the time. I get that they're more scared of you than you are of them. I get that. Sure, fine,
yeah.
whatever. But like, you cannot talk sense into me in that moment. But if we notice, all the other excursions happened before they went on the excursion or the thing. You know what I mean? So like, why was Philip and CK going through the iguana thing before the eliminate? Like, I don't know. Just made no zero.
Yeah. It was interesting. I don't know if it's because they were trying to have something in the middle between two eliminations. I think that's what it was for, because they aren't gonna. Because I guess you want to separate like when you're how you're eliminating people or when you're
Yeah.
eliminating people. So
Yeah.
So I get that. So yeah. So I mean, then we come up to the other vote.
Yeah. Well, we have this decision that has like Joe gives them this offer, so the four of them, where
Oh, I wasn't even
three
getting
of
there because
them
that's
can
gonna be
be
a whole nother
safe.
rant. I thought you wanted to finish the excursion first.
Well, no, because this was in the middle of it, and it kind of leads into what's
I
happening.
know. All right. Get ready for rant number
So,
3. Here we
yeah,
go.
because I have some thoughts on this too. So
Go for it, Shane.
like, okay, three of you can be safe, and whoever you leave out, they are going to face the banker. But when he says safe, he means safe from facing the banker, but you can still be eliminated.
Correct.
So it's not complete safety. And it's interesting because sometimes there is a lot of benefit to facing the banker. Like, yes, there's luck involved, but you have your fate in your own hands. So here's where I feel like they made some short-sighted decisions because they all basically threw Dickson under the bus and were like, we want to be safe. You're going in. And what they don't think about, like, I don't know how, maybe he didn't give them enough time to think. I don't know. But it's like, okay, you have David, Parvati, and Lachelle left. You can assume David and Parvati are going to say, Lachelle, we're voting you back. So
yeah,
now it's Lachelle and Dickson, and one of David and Parvati is going to have the power. And
right.
they are in the family with Dickson. So, like, Lachelle's your ally, and now she's facing the banker.
Oh,
And
yeah.
for whatever reason, everybody was like, oh, we don't want to face the banker because it's going to be a bad deal. So you're like, okay, I think the person's going to get a bad deal. It's Lachelle.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you're another ally, and then you'll be in the final 6 when the family is 3 out of 6 now.
Yeah,
Right.
this is crazy.
And like as much as CK hates Dickson right now, because we're that's gonna be like rant
Also,
20 of this.
for what reason?
I don't know.
That's gonna be like rant 20 out of this episode when we get there, but because it's literally the last thing of the episode. But CK obviously has her feelings on Dickson for whatever reason, but then we also know she doesn't like Letty very much. So she's out on like she's alone. You better grab onto something, girl. You are being stupid as hell right now. So I mean, when again going into this is like I don't know what their thought and rationale was behind this to literally say, oh, we want to like Lachelle's our girl. Oh, but we're literally in what world did you think David or Parvati is not going to vote that girl out?
Exactly.
That was the stupidest. Like, and here's the other thing I want to point out about this moment with my rant is coming back. Then, like, obviously Joe tells her, and she's obviously like, "Well, okay, thanks, guys. You like jackasses. Like, what the hell?" But then they're all like, "Oh my God, it's Lachelle." What do you mean? What do you actually mean here? In what perfect world did you think David and Parvati would be up there on the whatever, like, mini mountain of wherever they're at?
Yeah.
Was like, you know what? We're not going to be a family anymore. Lachelle, come on. Like, get real. Get absolutely real. This is a joke. This whole, like, fake bravado, like, oh, we're after the family. It's us against them. Shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
I feel like they're wasting their energy trying to go against the family rather than using their energy to think about the smart way to actually get ahead.
Right.
Yeah. That's why the family went from 3 out of 14 to now 3 out of 6. Odd.
Yeah.
But here's also the fact that I have to put into my rant, though, is the fact that we're talking about they're so irritated that they're the three, and or like when they want to bring up Dickson making a selfish move of taking Storm out. This is an individual game at the end of the day, right? Like, do you need the people? Yes. Like, you do need certain people so that you can protect yourself to a certain degree. 100%. But you guys are all okay with it being your guys' individual decision of basically screwing Lachelle because it's for the game. But, like, other people can't do that. This, like, I cannot. I'm not about that. I think this is, like, I don't like these type of people. But.
Yeah. I just feel like it's funny because I feel like they're expecting also that like David and Parvati are going to do what they're doing and eventually like have infighting, and David and Parvati like these people don't realize that the two of them are two of the greatest Survivor players of all time. Like they're not going to do that at this point. They're going to be smart about their decision making. So
well, to bring that up, we all know I've made some predictions on this podcast here, and I think it's happening next week. And this is why. I have said that I think Parvati is going out next. I did say that Lachelle would go this week. It's like listen, I have no insight. I haven't read any Reddits. I haven't read any of these things. Listen, if you know me, I don't do technology. I couldn't even find a Reddit if I wanted to, okay? So I did say that Lachelle would go here. Yeah. I think because they have harped way too much on the fact that David says, like several times now, I need to keep my secret of me being a survivor till the very end. No one can know this. We've seen Parvati. They've harped and harped and harped about Parvati being saved week after week after week. I mean, to the point where literally Joe put like crown on her head to be like, and made a point to say eight solid rounds she's been saved. Like he's making it a huge thing. I think that this is where we see the family probably break apart more so than the description that they gave us for this week. That Parvati is going to end up in trouble if not going out next week, and she's going to blow up David's game in the process because she's going to feel like he turned on her.
Yeah, that could be. And I mean, I guess we're jumping ahead a little but we're here, so let's stay here. I'll bring in the preview for next time that we saw at the end, where it was 100% Dickson. If next episode is that preview, like it's a Dickson episode. That's good or bad. It could be bad because it's like, okay, he's going out. Right. In the description, something about like a romantic ploy. So it's him kissing Letty's hand, and we know Parvati and David watch it.
Yeah, we've seen that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is I'm wondering if they do finally get the one up on the family here.
Yeah.
And where David makes the decision to end up protecting Dickson because he knows that Parvati would probably like give him a run for her money. Money.
And we had the confessional where he's like, everyone wants to take Dickson to the end because we'll crush him.
Right.
And like Parvati's good at challenges. There's also the moment in the trailer way back when Dickson's wearing a blue shirt. He's talking to David and someone else on the couch. And David's like, she has a secret she's not telling anyone. And this trail or this preview for this episode, David's sitting on the couch, Dickson's sitting on the couch with a blue shirt, talking about something else, but it looks like the same scene. So
Okay.
who is the she and what is the secret?
Yeah.
It could be Letty, but it could be Parvati. What secret? I don't know, but it could be something that like she blew up his spot, so now he's going after her to get
Yeah,
people
that's
to
possible.
her.
I also want to kind of go back a little bit, because this is another thing that really irritated the crap out of me. It won't be a huge rant. It's like a mini rant. It's like a mini version. But that moment when they decided to, obviously all three of them were like easily going to throw Dickson. Like, I don't even know why we need to show this on TV. We could have all gathered that without a like a 5-minute thing.
Yeah.
But Letty literally after him having your back, like first of all, okay, let's even go before that. You're sitting on the beach. You yourself are saying, I can see that this is a family. I need to find myself somebody else. Like I need to find, and maybe I have that with Dickson. Out of her own words, she wants to try and bring in like at least connect the bridge there, whether it ends up being like, a full-blown alliance, like secret, whatever it may be. She's wanting that. Okay. Then we get to the challenge where they all throw her under the bus, but he does stand up for her kind of again after this meeting on the beach to be like, I've got you. Right. Like, I mean, I can't save you because they've all just voted you out, but I'm letting you know in front of everyone, I've got you. For then to her turn around and like throw that back in his face, this is why you don't have people. This is why it's three of you against like you've lost every one of your allies because you guys don't stand together. That's the big difference here. You've got the family, like whatever people want to call cringe. That's a true alliance. They're sticking together. Where the rest of you are just again completely selfish and all those other things. And this is why you're like why you don't have anybody. So Letty, it's your problem.
Yeah.
Your problem.
It's ridiculous. I mean, do we want to talk about Lachelle facing the banker now? Basically, Parvati has made a deal with her as well that she will not put her up, but obviously Parvati has to either decide between her son or breaking her word with Lachelle. Obviously, she's going to choose to cut ties with Lachelle here.
Right.
And as we brought up, apparently Lachelle is shocked by that. It's like, really? You're shocked that Parvati chose like this family over you? Like, I don't know. It's just funny.
Right that I heard from her exit interviews that I listened to today is she said that her and Dickson had a plan together to not take each other out. So if she went up and won, she was not going to take out Dickson. She said she would have took Letty out. If Dickson went up, he would not take Lachelle. So she was saying that the reason she told Parvati she would take out Dickson is because she didn't want to face the banker.
Scare
But
tactic,
if
yeah.
she did
Yeah,
face the
yeah.
banker, her and Dickson were aligned on that.
Here's the thing that I even said this watching this episode is I was like, first of all, Parvati, now you're creating distrust with Dickson, first of all. And a lot of people, like I've seen comments too, talking about how like, well, Dickson, you can't have it both ways. You didn't want to face the baker, so she ended up picking Lachelle, and now you're mad that she like picked like that's not what he's talking about here. It should have not even been a question because we are working together. We have been a solid three forever. You gave her your word 10 minutes ago. We've been on this island together for all this time.
Right.
So that is what he's referring to in that moment is he's talking about that specific, there should not have even been a question on what you're doing here, Parvati. And again, like people again want to claim that Parvati and like Boston Rob, all the, all these people have these like perfect games. If you actually study their games, there are several flaws in their games and how they play. That is a huge flaw. That created distrust that didn't need to be there, which is where I could see what being her downfall, and where David might be coming in and protecting a Dickson of it all. Those types of things, because that was an unnecessary moment to create distrust this late in the game. For Lachelle, I honestly wondered that because I was like, obviously, like go to Dickson and then tell Lachelle like make it like they just. Here's the other thing too. Is where I would have gone if I was Parvati. I would have been like, Lachelle, I know I made that deal with you 10 minutes ago. I did not know that your three people were going to throw you under the bus. Not Dickson. He had no vote. That's where I would have used my manipulation to be like, your three friends decided that you could be unsafe. They didn't care. Those are the ones that screwed you. Not myself, not Dickson, not David. Those three, they screwed you. I'm sorry that I did give you my word.
She might have gotten that and they just didn't show it because if she was going to take out Letty, like she's taking out one of her friends, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're going to hate me because I'm going to sort of defend Parvati a little bit
Darn
here,
it. I'm hoping I can get
potentially.
out of this scot-free
But
without Harmony defend.
from Parvati's perspective, and she didn't articulate this in the edit, so maybe she wasn't thinking it. And from what we saw, it's like, okay, everything you said makes sense, that she's kind of being dishonest to her, or whatever, disloyal to her alliance Dickson by being like, well, I gave Lachelle my word, so I might put you up. If instead she was thinking, Dickson, if I put up Lachelle and she wins, she's taking you out. I don't want to lose you. If I put you up and you win, you're safe. If you lose, I mean, you lose, but like at least it's in your hands. Where if we put up Lachelle, you're gone. So
Yeah.
it could have been looking out for him, but it wasn't articulated that way.
But also, I think, I mean, because even going back to the Deal or No Deal as a game, right? I watched it a lot. I mean, even Dickson, like when he was up there, he's like, my favorite model was this. And I even told you guys that same night, I'm like, that's going to be a high number because I like you study these briefcases enough. They can say that they don't do this and they do whatever.
Yeah.
But if you watched it enough, it was always like the same certain cases, and then it would go for almost like half the season. And then randomly, because people would be like, oh,
Mhm.
they have the big cases, they'd flip it out of nowhere. And
Yeah.
then all those like 10, 13, 25, all those bigger cases ended up with the pennies and things like that. And so people can sit there and say that's not a thing, but if you are a loyal Deal or No Deal watcher from the beginning, not this, like not Island, but the actual show, and you believe that there is a pattern. It's like blackjack when you count cards, you're not supposed to count the cards. It's like there is a pattern. And even they said it, like even CK said it, we've had all these great deals. We're bound to have a bad one. And I think
Yeah.
that that's what they're all thinking. That's why they don't want to go up against Banker this round. This is why Dickon's like, no, no. So
Mm.
I think Parvati should have also been, privy to that, to be like, we have had a lot of great deals. They might do something where they throw us over a loop here. But also we're gonna get to Lachelle's
Yeah.
I don't know why she
But I
hit
do
the
want to say, okay, yeah, we'll get to that
We're gonna
actually.
get to
I'll
that,
make
but
my
yeah.
point there. Before we get there, though, before we get to the temple, there's a couple other moments that happen that kind of influence it, but I really want to touch on. So
No, I
one
know.
thing,
I was trying to get myself all hyped so that I don't
yeah,
cry, but it's probably still gonna happen.
yeah. So one of the things with the family here, and we kind of see the dynamic between Dixon and Parvati, and we were alluding about the family breaking up. And if it does, I mean, we've been set up so much here that David and Dixon, or Dixon has a stronger bond to David from what we've seen than to Parvati. So if it breaks up, it's gonna go that way ideally. And I feel like David would pick that way for this reason of what we saw. So,
Yeah.
they've had a few bonding moments, and like we're Dick's the last episode, I think he's like, oh yeah, you do great on Survivor, like follow your dreams, which little does he
These
know.
are the moments that we call him out. You idiot. How do you still not know this? But
Yeah.
yes.
This time they were just talking, and then I kind of hate that it was shown because I he whispered to David's ear. So the fact that he whispered, he didn't want it shown. Like you can just tell that he wouldn't have whispered if he didn't want it shown. But it means it's very genuine, where he's like, David, I haven't had, whatever, like I haven't had the family that maybe is traditional and that maybe like most people think of. You're giving me this experience as like a father figure that I've never had. Like I've had different figures in my life. Like I have a dad, I've had a grandpa that, raised me, but I haven't had like the father that I wanted, and that's you. And like that moment was a lot because knowing him, like it's coming from a very genuine place. The fact that he whispered it, it's like, yeah, that, and then it's just like I can see how important that relationship is because the way he forms relationships with people, like it is a little deeper. Like it's not just like a straight friendship. It's a little deeper, whether it's a father, a brother, whatever, what have you. And like I think he got something really special from David. And for people out there kind of like saying, oh, it's a game move, it's disingenuous, or oh, he like has this creepy family life and like whatever, like these are real people. And like he clearly got to David too, because David told Parvati, and David was, you know, deeply moved by it from what you could see, even in his confessional. And I'm sure he didn't want David to like go spread it, but like it happened. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a very emotional moment, and I feel for him, and like it's it's something that like he probably didn't want it shown, and like so from that perspective it sucks, but um I think I'm glad to have seen it, and like because these are the two people I've been rooting for the whole time, and so to just see this how genuine their bond is really nice to see. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and get through this without crying. Y'all. I was already tearing up as Shane was talking. I'm already crying. Um, some of the things that I've seen, like just and talk, like Shane brought it up a little bit there, talking about how this is just didn't just I can't even talk, disingenuous. Um, when I first met Dickson 4 years ago, like one of the first things we bonded about was being adopted, and there's a lot of things that go into being adopted that a lot of people don't like take for granted. They just don't understand. I know and I'll speak for me personally. I'm not going to put words in Dixon's mouth here, but I'm going to talk on this moment here. From my point of view, um, I I was adopted. I have a horrible relationship with my mom that adopted me. We don't speak. She's a horrible person. She's just not. There are toxic people in your life, and sometimes they're your parent. Um, I have never. I mean, I say this sometimes, and I have to. I guess I have to kind of put it in a cookie cutter type of way. Is I technically have three moms. I have a birth mom, an adopted mom, and a stepmom. None of those relationships are what I've ever wanted. Obviously, like my birth mom, like we talk. We have we are close to some regard. But never how like a mother-daughter relationship should be. I already mentioned I don't speak to my mother at all that adopted me. Like there's just not that. My stepmother and I, not a great relationship. Like we have moments, but there's also a lot of hurt there. So if I'm sitting on an island like this and I have created this bond, this isn't fake. This is not a fake moment. This is we see it in Oars. We've seen it in Vanquish. And trust me, those people that are out here saying that the family's cringe don't come to Vanquish because we're one giant family that like just hates to love each other. But I mean, a perfect point, and this isn't even the island. In December, we were all over the edge. I've never had like a mother figure ever, ever. I've never had that. I have a great dad. Don't get me wrong. I have a fantastic dad, so I never really needed the mom part. But in December, like I was out, I was doing autographs and things, and at the end of the day, I was done for. I was so tired. I was overheated. I was exhausted. My feet, I couldn't walk. My flip flop like ripped a hole in my foot. Like all these moments. And one of our people in well, two of them actually, but um, they basically Kenna and Cassie, I'm calling you guys out. So if you watch this, literally in the moment they're like, "Kristen, what do you need?" And I was like, "I'm fine," because I'm that type of person. I'm like, "I'm fine." They very motherly took me and said, "No, you're coming up to our room. You're gonna take a nice 15-minute nap. You're gonna get in the shower. We're gonna put some nice socks on your feet." They covered me with blankets. They made sure like, and it was a very like I was like, if I ever had a mom, like I feel like this is a mom, like because I'm a mom, so I take care of my kids like this. So like, I see Dickson in this moment of a very vulnerable moment having that with David, and it's so beautiful to see. So to see so many people hating on that is just so wrong. And screw all of you, like literally screw all of you. So let me get back to my hate so I can get out of the tears. Fuck and screw all of you because that is completely fucked up for you guys to ever think anything other than that because you don't know Dickson. We do. So shame on you. Shame on all of you for any kind of rude comment that you've made about that moment there. So, all right, move on so I can get out of these tears and get back to my hate.
thank you for sharing, Kristen.
Ugh. All right, let's get to this Lachelle bitch because like I can't.
Jeez.
Lachelle, you're not a bitch. I just had to get my laugh out of there so I can get out of my funk. Um, anyway, we do see Lachelle go up against the banker here. Oh, Lachelle. I don't know what she was thinking in this moment. It seems like she had given up from kind of how she exited out here. She was like, not the game for me. I don't want to continue like this. So I think she went in mentality wise of like, let me just get money.
I don't want to say give up, but I would say checked out. Like I think she was in it and she's like, yeah, I'm not a quitter or anything, but if it ends here, it ends here. The way I would liken it is to like, I was just saying this about like Big Brother games, for instance. Like sometimes you want to throw challenges. I just don't have it in me to like not try my best at something. But if you're motivated you're like, I'm going home, I need to win this. You have a different kind of motivation, a different kind of pressure versus like, I'm going to try my best, but like, I don't really want to win it. So I'll try, but whatever happens. And I feel like that's a kind of where Lachelle was at. Like, not to put words in her mouth or anything, but that's just kind of the impression I got where she's like, I'm going to try my best. I hope I'm here, but if I lose, I lose. And I want to help the team too. Like, I want to be selfless and give them money
I
because,
think that there was more so though, like I get what you're saying. I do think it was like, okay, let me try and whatever, whatever happens, happens.
yeah.
Yes and no, because we see that the moment she decides to make the deal, it's not in her favor at
Yeah.
all. Like at all. So that's where I feel like that's her moment of like, I got 7 figures on the board.
Right.
Like I want to go. So
Yeah.
I think that was very like I get what you're saying, Shane, 100%. And Jake, I'd love to hear your opinion on it. I do think that was her cop out at this moment of like they're about to go to battle over this family versus the other ones.
Yeah.
I have zero desire to do this.
And
So
before Jake chimes in, like one thing about you just mentioned her odds, like she did say something, and the thing she said, it makes sense too. But it's like hard to get around. And she's like, the odds are the odds, but it doesn't change what's in my case. Like if I have the
right,
penny in my case, it doesn't matter what my odds are. I've got a good deal 100% right now. And
right.
if I have the 2 point whatever million, I have a bad deal no matter what. So it doesn't change that. So I kind of get that, but still like you always want to have the odds in your favor because if she picked one more case, regardless of what happens, her odds are going to be 50-50, and that's a better shot. I think she was worried because she's like, if I knock one of the big numbers, my offer goes down. And it would, but it would still be a 6 figure, like a high 6 figure number.
Yeah. And she probably would have
Yeah.
stayed in that moment too, because she had the lower, not
Yeah.
the high, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then, sorry to cut off Jake again, but before I lose my
Okay.
train of thought, because remember, I was way at the beginning, I wanted to talk about something, and here we are. In terms of like they all thought there's going to be a bad deal. This is the way the show manipulates it, and manipulates, the wrong word because it's fair play. Um, the offer probably could have been higher than 1.7 million. So they gave her the 1.5 million. Probably could have been like slightly higher than that second case to give her 66% chance odds of staying. And that's how they manipulated it. Because my guess is if Parvati was playing the banker in that exact same scenario, the offer is 1.8 million.
Yeah. I mean, because
And
they want the big names still there, 100%.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then she would take the offer. Because if the offer was 1.8, like it probably could have been, she's safe.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because we saw it last season, Boston Rob, they literally extended like that last challenge into the finale so they could still have Boston Rob in the final episode.
Right.
And
So,
the one day where the guy would have taken Dawson would have taken Rob out, they
yeah,
offered Dawson $100,000 personal money. And
Right.
they said, you can have this, but you need to take yourself from the game.
Right.
And notice how there have been 0 personal offers this season, and also Parvati has been safe. So there's like,
right.
more than personal offers, manipulation tactics.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
very
kind of am
interesting.
thinking yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's not cheating, it's a way to do it, but
Right.
like
100%. Because that's the banker, that's what the whole banker's job is to make them make bad deals.
yeah.
Like leave with the least amount of money. So
Right.
that's exactly what they're going to do. That's the manipulation tactic. But Jake, I do want to hear your thoughts on here. Do you think that this was Lachelle giving up? Do you think this was Lachelle like, whatever the case may be? Like, what were your thoughts here?
Yeah, I feel like she kind of knew the writing was on the wall for her, that she wasn't in a great spot. Like she's basically the one with probably the fewest connections to anybody. Like CK may be hated by quite a few people, but at least she's has some sort of like connection to people, and Lachelle didn't really. So I feel like at this point she's just gonna let both sides go to war and just bow out gracefully. So I do kind of see it in that way. And so I mean, we predicted, as we've been saying, we predicted that this was her week to go, that she would just be kind of that player that kind of flies through undetected and then just kind of lands in like a middle placement. So
Yeah. Oh boy. All right, we get to go to my last rant of the podcast. All right. Does anybody want to go before I go? Because this is gonna get heated. This is gonna be the biggest heated moment of
Okay,
the day.
I'll say something about it. So it happens, Lachelle goes and they're walking off, and then we hear, I hate Dickson. Like out of nowhere from CK. Like, I don't understand what this is about because I thought they were sort of like on the same page earlier on because when he took out Storm, he was supposed to take out CK and didn't. So like to me, this whole rant of hers is falling flat. Apparently, according to Say, she'll like her ass. So she just leaves everything flat.
I'll go before Kristin. Like this came out of left field for me too, watching it with you, Shane, live, and I was just we were both so confused of what why she says she hates Dickson out of all of a sudden here. Like I just feel like CK hates everybody on this season, and she probably said I hate everybody. And for whatever reason, the editors chose to rag on Dickson. I think that's really weird for them to do that, especially when, in our opinion, I feel like the season has uh positively highlighted Dickson as like a major part of this season, even if some other podcasts and people are uh, have blinders on as to what's really happening on the show. But
Yeah, it's almost like they photoshopped it in too, because like you can't even see her mouth moving or anything. I'm like,
right,
it's just out of nowhere.
right.
All right, buckle up, buttercups, because here it comes. All right, so first of all, CK, you are just trash, just absolute trash. You are just disgusting filth, with a flat ass, apparently, according to Seychelles. But here we go. First of all, you can tell in this moment that because she says to Lachelle, as she's like, "I need you to stay. I need you to stay." Okay, so she's pissed and apparently blaming Dickson, and not only just blaming him, she hates him for it. Hates him for it. No, bitch, you're the reason why Lachelle went home because you decided down there in your little excursion because you're all pissed that you are the one that put her in that dangerous position. You could have gone in there and played the banker and then took Dickson out. So you hating Dickson is just unfathomable to me. There is no grounds to stand by it. You're a bitter Betty and you need to take a chill pill and probably go to therapy because you're an absolute fucking joke. Absolute joke. Like biggest crybaby that is on Deal or No Deal Island right now. We've seen it time and time again. Gross. Gross.
Also, why, if she wanted Lachelle to stay and supposedly she's a poker player that knows all the odds and everything, why didn't she stand up there and say, Lachelle, you are not taking that deal right now. You're playing one more case.
Right. So now that I've gotten my little rant, I told you it was a good one. It was a good one. Here's my thought process because we all know where I think this is going next week. I think that they left that as the very last line that we hear because we're getting set up for a Dickson Parvati possible going home here. Okay? To where David then saves Dickson to take Parvati out. Hence where then David's whole secret comes out. Parvati's now gone. Like the one time she's not safe, she's out. He knows that she's a threat in the end to take out. So I think that was strategically put in as the last thing that we hear to set us up for next week that we see that this is where this might come out. And that's just my thought process on it. I will see if I'm right or wrong. Maybe again, CK is just a stupid, dumb, bitter Betty. I don't know.
That does seem very logical to me because obviously in the premiere they're gonna introduce David's secret, like regardless of what happens. But they brought it up again last week. I'm like, well, if it's not gonna be relevant. Why are you bringing it up? So I truly feel like it comes out on the show. Like obviously everyone knows about it from the cast, but like that could be when it finished filming. But I truly believe it happens on the show.
Yeah, I think it happens on the show, and I think again because they've been saying it over and over again. Parvati, oh my God, you're safe again. Oh, Parvati, you're safe again. Blah 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 blah. The fact that they made it like Joe spoke on it so much this episode. Not only did he just be like, "Oh, Parvati, you're safe again," like, okay, who are you putting in? Parvati, you've been safe again 8 rounds in a row. Never up for any type of going home. Let me place this figuratively crown on your head. Like, it just seemed above and beyond to be like, who, like, we all know that she's been safe. So for them to kind of end this episode with this abundant, Parvati, you're so amazing and you're safe every week, to then end it with a line of, I hate you, Dickson. It's like to lead this up to, I feel like this is where it all kind of comes out next week. And I do
because
think
they are using Dickson in the edit as a scapegoat. Because by what the edit has shown, the last 3 weeks it was him or someone else, and he through. Obviously, it seems like that wasn't as accurate, especially this week, because Lachelle said that she wasn't taking him out. To your point about overhyping the Parvati thing, I completely get that, and the edit could be, but also like Joe said that stuff. It's not like they went back and edited it and they didn't know what was happening next, but also maybe he says that stuff every week. And like now they're just showing it like all
showcasing it,
yeah, to foreshadow what you're saying. Because I do see a lot of merit to what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm putting it, it's my double down if we're going to make predictions this episode. I'm doubling down. I think Parvati is the one that goes next week. She blabs David's secret, all the things. So I'm doubling down and putting money on it. Not actually, because I have 0, but that's where I'm going with it. Parvati will be out next week.
I can see it. I think that's a good prediction. I mean, I'm gonna bet maybe they end up taking out CK as the other option. Like they finally take her out next week. Because like Dickson also has this bond with Letty now, and Letty and CK hate each other. And so I feel like it might be CK's time next week, finally. It's been long overdue. The trash needs to be taken out. So
check mark.
Yeah,
but also, like, before we get your prediction, it also, because we know that this scene of the kissing of the hand, which also Dickson, gross, I'm calling you out for this. This bitch just totally sold you out, and you're like, oh, let me kiss your hand. I'm gonna yell at him about it. But
well, we don't know the context yet, because the preview implies it's like some plot.
Right, but we do see Parvati and David talk, oh gosh, we're gonna have a problem with the you know what I mean? So this is where the moment, like, does Parvati want to try and target Dickson? Do you see what I'm saying? That we have a David that ends up saving Dickson, leaving Parvati to, rot, if you will, and go home, and this is why she's mad and gives up David. So I think that they've harped too much on David's secret needs to be kept until the end, or he's done for, and that Parvati's been safe all these times. So I just feel like that it's just foreshadowing. But Shane, what's your prediction?
So I think it could be one of 3 people. It could be Phillip, it could be Parvati, it could be Dickson. I'm thinking, so we'll work backwards a little bit. So my prediction is David wins this season. I think Letty is in the finals. I think she could be second potentially. Assuming the mechanics work the same as last season, which that's an assumption, and we don't know if it's true or not. So I'll say David and Letty final 2. I think the other people in the finale, I think Dickson is in there and we'll get 3rd or 4th. And I think CK is in there and we'll get 3rd or 4th. Parvati very well could be too, though. So I think it's very logical that Parvati goes out next, then Phillip, and then our final 4 is Dickson, CK, David, Letty.
Yeah.
A good prediction.
But it's just really hard to predict a show like this, I think.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there's a lot of mechanics.
Enough about the mechanics of how things work, and there's so much luck involved, and it's really
well, and we only get a little bit of an edit, which we understand. And also, I'm going to say, oh, go ahead.
I might say the same thing you're going to say, but this episode at the beginning felt like we were missing something again. Like it was like we had last week, and then there was some mystery, like half episode that nobody knows what it is, and then we get this one again. It was like Lucky and Dickson on the hammock or the rocking chair came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I know, like that wasn't what I was going to bring up. But that, how did that lead up to that moment? But what I was going to say before everybody comes for me, and if any of the players actually watch this podcast, I will say, I'm saying all this as my only opinion on you. I don't know you, and I'm only going by your edit. I am not one of those fans that thinks edits are factual, I will get to know you. So hopefully I do get to know you and you're not a trash human being, but also if I get to know you and you're still trash, that sucks for you. But I will preface this by saying this is my opinions based on an edit, but it seems pretty accurate of who you are in real life. Just gonna throw it out there. I had to like save the podcast at some point. Jake's like, I'm firing Kristin. She's gonna get us in so much trouble.
No, I think it's funny. I mean, listen, I feel like we've had a ton of controversial opinions on this podcast before, so
And you can't fire Kristin. We can't be firing the world right now.
Not Mama
Yeah.
Vanquish.
Yeah.
Mama Vanquish, the family.
yeah, we're not breaking up the family.
As cringe as it may be.
All right. Well, any other thoughts before we close this Deal or No Deal Island episode out?
I'm just excited to see how the season ends. Like, we've kind of touched on this before, and Joe and a bunch of the cast and crew is saying this is like the best season of reality television. I completely disagree, but it is by far the best Dondi season.
Mhm.
Not saying much. It's only
Earmuffs, Miranda.
yeah. But I do think it has potential to be one of the best Dondi seasons, seeing what comes next. I mean, it's an excellent season of TV. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not the best reality TV I've ever seen.
No.
Like, we've got some titans and rebels, some heroes and villains, fans and favorites will disagree.
Yeah, for sure.
The only thing I was gonna say, I don't think we need to talk on it because unless you guys feel like your guesses have changed on who we think the banker is, but I'm sticking with mine. I'm doubling again down on I think it's Meghan Markle.
I think I said Rosie O'Donnell, which it's probably not because like there's no banker connection, but I guess Rosie O'Donnell. Because I mean, if you looked at the trailer, like it's someone everyone recognizes, or they reshot. Like you never know.
Right.
Like, they could bring the person out and nobody reacts, so they reshoot it.
They're like, oh, can we actually get a reaction, please?
Because I would recognize Rosie O'Donnell, I would not recognize Meghan Markle.
Well, Shane can stop living under a rock. She's a princess.
I would not.
But also,
recognize half the people that have been claimed to be the banker.
But also, we did see Dondi did share like a story the other day, and I think Dickson also shared it that Meghan Markle did comment on something.
Oh,
so she did. So and we do know that she was a briefcase holder for Deal or No Deal.
Okay.
So, that's why I'm doubling down on Meghan Markle.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know what predictions I have for this because it could be anybody. I mean, I will say I don't think it's Jordan at this point. Like I think
we've gotten over that one.
Yeah, I don't think it's Jordan. I don't think it's Sandra because that was another we thought. I think it's a celebrity. Someone from
I think it's a
the
celebrity too.
NBC network.
Agreed.
Well, we only have a few more weeks till we find out, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm doing 4 weeks, but they've never announced the finale date yet.
They have not,
No, I don't know. And Traders, I think, is about to wrap up.
There's 2 more. Well, 1 more now. But
Yeah.
Oh, it's on tonight. Now you can watch.
Yeah. So we'll also have that up around the same time as you're listening to this. So with Austin and I, so can listen to more Traders as we start to wrap that up as well as a bunch of our other content coming up. And you will see the March schedule as well in a couple days from this. So
like, comment, subscribe, comment, even if it's hateful towards me, you won't hurt my feelings. I don't care.
Direct it towards Kristin.
I will take it all. As a good mother should.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. Well, we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.